So what is the cycle of use?
So much goes down before even dating or before, I mean, again, there's 50 pages on it in the book about how to go from hey to I do, but that whole idea of like, how am I preparing myself to even enter into a friendship, a relationship? And it's going to come down to, I mean, not to spoiler alert, right? But like you cannot make anyone your God or your idol. I mean, when this is something in my Sikh talk, one of my Sikh talks for the girls, you know, I went out there, I was like, I got 22 minutes. Like, what, you know, if I really wanted to tell you what I want to tell you, it would boil down to this. If you try to make anyone your God or your idol, like you will crush them under the weight of that. You will destroy them because no one can be that for you. They can't be that for you. And when they fail you, you will be disappointed, and you will always end up disappointed in those relationships. And that's what, I mean, again, when I go through this and I talk about the cycle of use, I mean, every time anyone's ever used someone emotionally or physically, you know, it really boils down to I was making them my God. I was making them my savior. I was making them my everything. I wanted them to take away my pain. I wanted them to give me worth. I wanted, you know, we could go on for days on this topic, but I think that the cycle of use, what I define it as is, you know, you kind of say, like, have you been used emotionally or physically in any way? You know, have you used someone else, or have you watched your best friend be? That's the one that gets people is you watched your brother, your sister, your best friend, someone you love be used emotionally or physically, or probably both. And again, just silence in the room, because it's one thing to consider it for yourself. It's another thing to go, I watched what that guy did to my sister. Like I watched what that guy did to my mom, or what that girl did to my dad. Like, you know, that's like the craziness is that a lot of these students have parents that are dating for the first time again. You know, like they have divorced parents, and I've watched people just weep through that, because it's like that pain is real. And so the cycle of use is using people. Again, physical use is a little easier to point out, right? Like he's using you, like she's using you. It's a lot harder to point out emotional use, especially because so many times in our world, you know, it's lines like, you know, well, if you really love me, then, you know, if you'd really love me, then you'd, and that's what, in the part of my talk right after this is that where I throw down and I'm like, look, anybody can have sex with somebody. It's not that difficult. It's actually a lot harder to be able to say, I love you and I respect you. And I just gave up using like 13 minutes ago in Sarah's talk, because I will never see this the same. And because of that, the fact that I can rise above my spontaneous emotional or sexual desire in this moment and choose you, what can't I do for you? Like, I just throw down on stage, because I'm like, no, seriously, if they can do that for you, what can't they do for you? Because that is, when you're pre-marriage, that's got to be that's the most sacrificial thing, is watching your boyfriend, girlfriend, engaged person, like these couples that are engaged, like, dude, like, that is hard. You're like, I am going to choose you. We are going on a walk. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell my college students that are engaged, I'm like, have a code word. Like, so when you're in a moment where you're like, we need to go on a walk, like, have a code word, which is like, yeah, like, I want this, but I choose you and we need to go on a walk. Where's the Chinese buffet? Right? So I give that to your viewers, because I think that the cycle of use, especially right now, is in a really interesting spot. A lot of people with quarantine weren't hooking up. It wasn't like you were going to parties and, you know, doing all that stuff. Now, so much of this is turned online. So the whole phenomena of like, I've had so many messages where they're like, Sarah, what do you think of the whole Text Your Ex phenomenon? And I'm like, can you explain it to me really quickly? You know, like I had to know, I'm the old homeschool mom, like chilling in Atchison, Kansas, you know, so I'm like, tell me what this is. And so they explained that like during quarantine, so many people were feeling so alone, so like just kind of worthless, and everything was being stripped of them, that it was really tempting. And a lot of people were texting their exes and starting up these like emotional relationships again. And so many of the girls and guys were like asking for advice on that. And I was like, yeah, and again, the devil just knows how to spin lies and webs. And, you know, I look at like all of the junk that they're dealing with. And what I mean by they is anybody out there right now who's single, like, you guys have just been thrown like curveball after curveball after curveball. And I feel like the emotional virtue game, you have to be on such high alert right now, because everybody is emotionally unstable. I mean, I am, but I mean, like, I don't even know what that's like for a young, questioning your worth, questioning your identity, questioning, like, am I ever going to date someone? I haven't even seen a human being in stinking 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, joking. But I just think that I feel for you. I just want your listeners to hear me say, like, when I wrote this book, it was for a time, but I also feel like this time it's like, we got to apply this to this. We got to apply this term of emotional virtue, the cycle of use. This is very real, and we're treading in a place we've never been before. And I just want your listeners to know that, like, I'm fighting for you. I'm here for you. I love you. And I'm proud of you for fighting this fight, because it is not pretty out there right now. And I'm sorry for everybody that's just in deep with this stuff, because it is so easy to get wrapped up in it, especially in these unknown times.
Yeah, no, I think it was Saint Robert Bellarmine who said, "Flee idleness, for no one is exposed to more temptation than he who has nothing to do." And now that we've basically had like 6 months of nothing to do, I mean, it's tough, you know? And so I think what's interesting is that the idea of like worshiping this person or mentally stalking the person, you know, as you know, this is happening before they even start dating. So it's like when you get to know the person in person, you feel like you have already seen their last 5 months worth of Instagram posts, and you've formed in your imagination this filtered image of who they are, which is who they wanted to present themselves as. And it takes a while for, I think, reality to kick in, you know, when we've marinated ourselves in this virtual concept of who they are. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that little clip, but if you want to see the whole episode where this came from, just click the link here. And in the meantime, we want to invite you to help us share this message, and there's a couple things you can do real quick. Number one, if you like or comment or share this video, YouTube will actually show it to more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We release videos every single day, and you'll be notified as soon as those come out. If you want to help us also to spread this message, you can support us at patreon.com/Jason Evert. That helps us to create these videos and show them to the whole world. God bless.